Hi. Have you ever noticed that store-bought vegetables and fruits like this one, their prices keep going up and they keep finding new ways to sell them to us at a more expensive rate, especially with labels like organic, natural. They keep adding prices and we all want to be healthy, so we keep being forced to pay them. Now I want to talk today about a cheaper way to be able to get healthy food and vegetables, and that's through organic farming. Now, organic farming is actually pretty easy to do in your own garden. I'm going to go through those tips today while explaining how to build a good, decent soil through fertilizer, composting, and I'm going to build the case for infrequent watering rather than watering every day, which is the common method, as well as showing how to do some general plant maintenance and the reasons for doing that. Now, I'm outside in my own garden, where we're going to first be discussing compost. Now, you can buy regular fertilizers from the store, which are man-made and inorganic. They usually contain a lot of chemical compounds that may or may not break down. They may leach into the food in unsafe quantities, and they're just generally not good for us. Now, here I have two different composting methods. I have a hot composter, which is set up like a barrel on wheels that I can rotate. Hot composting is good if you want fast results. It's done in a couple of months, and you just rotate it every couple of days to every week. You need to always make sure when you're composting that you put in a high quantity of dead materials. Stuff like these brown leaves. The reason being, if you put in a lot of green stuff, the green stuff has to go to brown before it can go to composting, and it takes a lot longer time. Brown stuff's already dead and decomposing. It'll speed up your process. Now this box here is what's called a cold composting, and it's where over time I just throw scraps, vegetables, plant leaf, grass from mowing the garden, all in there and let it decompose. Now this can take up to 2 years, so it's really a long process, but it makes nice good mulch. The only disadvantage of this is it doesn't kill any weed seeds that might happen to find their way into there, whereas the hot, because of the temperature, that compost is going to be free of weeds and it'll be better for your garden. Now, after you've made the compost, mulched it into your garden, you're going to wind up needing watering your plants. Everybody knows watering is important. Where I grew up, we consistently watered every day for a couple minutes every day just to give the plants a drink. But then in my recent readings and research, I've found this to be inaccurate, and that it actually makes for weak plants, which now looking back on it makes sense to me. My dad's tomato plants would grow nice and tall like these ones here, and every time they'd get about this high, about 4 or 5 feet, even though they were full of fruit, still growing, still vibrant, they'd just keel over and fall over. Still be producing, but just be falling over. And so the key to this is actually infrequent but really deep waterings. And I'll explain why. Now, if you look here at the base of the plant, if we're only going to be watering about 1 inch or 2 inches into it because we're watering every day, a little bit at a time, you're going to end up with very shallow roots because they're not going to go deep down into this sub-layers here looking for the water that's gone down deeper. If you water every other day to every few days to every week, you're able to water much deeper, which goes down farther, and the roots go down, which allows them to become like tide cables that hold your plant in stronger, instead of making this really weak topsoil base that eventually will keel over and kill the plant. So that watering is really, really important to maintaining a healthy environment and a healthy plant. Now the final topic I wanted to discuss with you is how to maintain the plants after you've fertilized and watered them and they're growing. The biggest key to that is actually going to be thinning out some of the stuff, which kind of doesn't seem to make sense. I'm asking you to throw out green tomatoes before they're grown, or to throw out rotten ones. An example of that, if you look right here, this tomato plant is still attached, still ripening, and still growing. But as you can see, it's split open. It's not going to be one I'm going to be able to eat. So it's basically a wasted plant, and it's sucking life and energy out of the plants themselves, which is just not a very good thing. It's not something we want. So I like to throw those into my compost pile, which makes fertilizer for the next growing season. Now you want to do that because as these plants grow really big, you'll end up with so much fruit up top of the plants, it actually sucks out the life out of the roots and kills the plant as well, and stunts the growth of the vegetables, and they just don't grow as well. Now some of these plants, it's actually supposedly the end of this tomato season, but I just moved in here, thinned out these tomato plants, and as you can see, there's plenty of green tomatoes suddenly springing up, all because I thinned them out. And this thing's going to start producing a whole lot more cherry tomatoes again, because I took off all the dead rotting fruit and some of the dead leaves and things that were just taking up energy from the roots that we really didn't want to have happen. The other problem we have is pests. Things like snails, bugs, aphids, which like to eat the leaves. As you can see, we had some problems over here in our garden with the broccoli being eaten. I trimmed off a lot of the dead pieces, but as you can see, the pieces here still have a lot of holes in them. The way to manage that, if you're really into organic gardening, you can get some man-made organic pesticides, but again, the pesticides, they're poisons. They're not something that's going to be very healthy. You're still going to have to wash your plants and flowers. The key to this is going to be in the bugs you put into the garden. It sounds kind of counterintuitive, but the bugs are eating the garden. Why are we putting more in? When you put in ladybugs or aphids, or ladybugs, they love to eat aphids. Another big one that's my favorite is the praying mantis. They look really cool, and they eat any kind of bug. They're heavy predators. You can buy their eggs online, plant them in your garden. The eggs will grow, become praying mantises, and they'll sit and prey on your garden. It'll be really helpful. The other one to watch out for is the snails and slugs, which will sit down in your flower beds looking for water and food that drops off. Those, just pick them up, slam them on the sidewalk, kill them. They're just going to cause a whole big mess of problems and infections as well. Altogether, because you're using natural processes like composting with materials already at hand, like dead fruit, leaves that are falling, especially now that it's fall time, you're going to end up with a much cheaper cost. You can buy a packet of plant seeds for $1.39. For example, this cauliflower here, it cost me $2 at the local store. If I get a bunch of cauliflower seeds and we're to plant them out here, which is a great time right now because it's the winter season coming on, they do really well in the cold weather, I'm going to be able to get, I could plant 30 cauliflower and just fill these beds full of cauliflower for $1.29 if I bought the seeds and grew them myself. The water just comes with your regular water bill, same with watering your lawn and garden. And the fertilizers, heck, compost is free. So altogether, it's a very good process. It's going to save you a lot of money while still being able to maintain healthy foods. You're going to beat the organic labels that double the price of a lot of foods. And you're going to be able to enjoy some really delicious fruits and vegetables. Because let's face it, the vegetables at the store have been in a truck, they've been on a boat, they've been on a plane, flown here from various countries or different states. And so by the time they get to you, they've been picked for at least a week. And they're not fresh, even though they say they are. The fresh one is when I come out here in the morning, pick off a couple of tomatoes, dice them up, and throw them in an omelet. You can't get much healthier or fresher than that. Hope you guys will be able to switch over to doing some organic gardening, even on a smaller scale. I got lucky with my garden, and I look forward to being able to enjoy it. I hope you'll all be able to do the same. Thank you.